Hello, my wonderful people. It's your girl again, Lily Gold. Today I feel so blessed to be here with you. On Stories Fair with Lily Gold, we share stories that inspire, touch hearts, and sometimes warn us about the dangers of wrong choices. And today, I bring you a true, raw, and emotional journey, the story of a young man named Chinedu. He grew up in Enugu, Nigeria, a boy full of dreams, laughter, and innocence. But along the way, pause, softer voice, life tempted him with shortcuts that nearly destroyed everything.
My name is Chinedu. Today, I want to tell you my story. It is not a story of riches, but of struggles, mistakes, and lessons that changed my life forever. I was not born with silver in my mouth. I was born in the dust of Enugu, Nigeria. My beginning was humble, but it was full of love. My parents had little, yet they gave me everything their hands and hearts could offer. I want you to see through my eyes how a boy who had nothing once laughed under the moonlight, chased dreams on dusty grounds, and believed the world was full of hope. That was my beginning. Our house was small, built with mud walls and a zinc roof. Whenever rain fell, the roof made a loud damgwam noise. Sometimes the water leaked inside and Mama placed bowls to catch it. The compound where we lived had other families too. Children played ten-ten, sway, hopscotch, and football made with tied plastic bags. I joined them, laughing until our feet turned dusty red from the laterite soil. My father was a carpenter. He worked at a small roadside workshop where the smell of sawdust filled the air. He made chairs, tables, doors, and coffins. He often came home tired, his clothes covered in white dust. Still, he would smile and ask, "Chinedu, how was school?" My mother was a market woman. Every morning, before the sun rose, she carried a basket of tomatoes, pepper, onions, and garden eggs on her head to Ogbete market. She tied her wrapper tightly and balanced the heavy load. "Buy fresh tomatoes, fine pepper, sweet onions," she would call out to customers. We did not have plenty of money. Some nights, we only ate gari with groundnut or akamu, pap, with akara. But Mama always made the food sweet with her laughter. She would sing Igbo songs while cooking on a charcoal stove. Onyekwe, chiya ekwe. When you say yes, your God will also say yes. Those small things made our poor home feel rich in love. At night, when the moon shone bright, Papa gathered us outside with other children. He told stories about the clever tortoise, Mbe, the proud lion, or brave hunters in the forest. Sometimes, he carved toys for me from leftover wood. I laughed until my stomach hurt. I didn't know it then, but those were the happiest days of my childhood.
You can already feel it, right? The love, the laughter, but also the struggle. Stay with me because Chinedu's story is just beginning, and trust me, every twist will keep you glued. So, smiling, let's continue.
Our house had no electricity most of the time. When NEPA brought light, we shouted, "Up NEPA!" and ran to charge our lamps and small radio. On nights without light, we used kerosene lanterns that smoked the walls black. We had no television, so I listened to our neighbors' radio whenever they played high-life songs or football commentary. I wanted to be like JJ Okocha, dribbling on the field. Food was always simple. In the morning, Mama gave me akamu with moi moi if she sold well the previous day. But on bad days, it was only gari with water and sugar. Once I asked, "Mama, Why don't we eat meat every day like other children? She smiled sadly and touched my cheek. My son, money is small now, but one day you will grow and things will change. Hard work will bring blessings. Papa encouraged me in his own way. When he came home with rough, tired hands, he sat on his wooden stool and said, "Chinedu, life is like this wood I walk on. At first, it is rough and ugly, but with patience, it can become a fine chair. You too must be patient." Even though we were poor, there was laughter. On Sunday afternoons, Mama tied her best wrapper and Papa wore his old suit. We went to church together, clapping and singing hymns. After church, we ate rice with small pieces of meat. That meal felt like Christmas. At night, the whole compound gathered under the moon. Some women roasted corn, children cracked jokes, and old men argued about politics. Even though our pockets were empty, our hearts were full. Those moments made
By
me
the time I
believe
turned 18,
poverty was
I had
not
seen
the end
too
of
much
life,
for my age.
as long as there was
My
love.
parents were still struggling, and I was tired of watching them suffer. Mama's voice had grown weak from shouting at the market every day. Papa's once strong hands were full of blisters from carpentry work, yet the money never seemed enough. I tried to find jobs, cleaning shops, carrying loads, helping carpenters, but what I earned couldn't even buy a bag of rice. Sometimes I'd look at my friends and I'd envy how easily they seemed to enjoy life. They wore nice clothes, had new phones, and spent freely. One day I asked one of them, "How do you get all this money?" He smiled and said, "Chinedu, you are too slow. This is Lagos. No one survives by being honest. You have to be smart." I didn't understand what he meant by smart. But soon, I found out. They were into Yahoo, internet fraud. They laughed about how they deceived people online and made money overnight. I told myself I would never do such a thing. But poverty has a way of testing your words. Each time I saw Mama counting coins at night, or Papa coming home with empty pockets, my heart ached. I wanted to help, but how? Then one evening, my friends came again. "Just try it once," they said. "You are smart. Nobody will catch you." That night I couldn't sleep. I kept hearing their words, just once. And so one morning, I followed them. That was the day I took my first dangerous step into a world I thought would change my life forever. But I didn't know I was walking into a trap that would nearly destroy me.
The first day I sat with my friends in front of their laptops, I felt a strange excitement. They were in a small, dark room with one old fan spinning lazily above our heads. The air smelt of sweat, cigarette smoke, and cheap perfume. Everyone was focused on their screens, typing fast, laughing loudly, shouting, "Guy, I don't catch 'em!" They told me, "Chinedu, this is the new hustle. Nobody cares how you make money, as long as you make it." At first, I didn't understand what they were doing. I just watched. But soon, curiosity pulled me closer. They showed me how to create fake profiles, how to talk to foreigners online, how to make them believe lies. It felt wrong, but my empty pocket said otherwise. I told myself I wasn't doing it to hurt anyone. I was doing it for my family. I convinced myself that once I made enough money, I would stop. And that's how it started. One message at a time, one lie after another. Days turned to weeks, and weeks into months. The first time I received a payment, I couldn't believe it. My heart raced as I saw the alert on my phone. I held it tight and whispered, "This is it. My life is about to change." That evening, I took Mama some money and told her I'd gotten a new job, helping someone online. She was happy, so happy that she cooked my favorite meal, jollof rice with fried plantain. But deep inside, I knew the truth. I had entered a world built on deceit, And once you go in, it's hard to come out clean.
I will never forget the day I made my first big money. It was a sunny afternoon, and I had been chatting with a woman from abroad for weeks. I told her stories that weren't true, lies that painted me as someone I wasn't. When she finally sent the money, my hands trembled. I kept staring at my phone screen as the alert popped up. 450,000 naira. That was more money than my father made in 3 months. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. I felt powerful, like I had finally beaten poverty at its own game. I remember shouting, "Up God," even though deep down I knew God had nothing to do with it. That evening, I bought new clothes, new shoes, and even gave Mama some money. She looked surprised and asked, "My son, where did you get this kind of money?" I smiled and said, "Mama, my online work is going well." She smiled, but I noticed the doubt in her eyes. Mothers always know. Still, that first cash out changed everything. My friends celebrated me like a hero. They said, "Chinedu, welcome to the Big Boys Club." I started walking differently, dressing differently, even talking differently. For the first time in my life, I felt seen. But what I didn't know was that the same money making me smile was also digging a hole beneath my feet. Every lie I told, every alert I received pushed me further away from who I truly was. I had money in my pocket, but peace had already left my heart. Once the money started flowing, my life changed completely. Every morning, I woke up to the sound of alerts. It felt like music. I began to dress in designer clothes, wear expensive shoes, and move with confidence I had never known before. I stopped using public transport. I joined my friends in taking taxis, blasting loud music, and laughing like kings. People who used to ignore me now wanted to be close. Girls called me "Fine Boy Chinedu," and I liked it. At home, Mama was happy that I was helping out with money, but she still looked at me sometimes with worried eyes. "My son," she would say, "I hope you're not doing anything that will bring shame to this family." I always smiled and said, "Mama, I'm fine. I'm just working smart." But deep down, I knew she was right to worry. The money was sweet, but the pressure was sweeter. I started spending recklessly, buying phones, paying for parties, helping friends show off. Every weekend was a new celebration. I was living the dream, or so I thought. But even in all that noise and laughter, I sometimes heard a quiet voice inside me saying, "This won't last." I ignored it. I told myself I was in control. I told myself I could stop whenever I wanted. But the truth is, once you taste that kind of fast life, it becomes like a drug. You don't stop because you want to. You stop only when it destroys you. And I didn't know that destruction was already on its way.
The first sign of trouble came one hot afternoon. I was sitting with my friends at a small bar near the junction, drinking and joking as usual, when 2 policemen walked in. Their eyes scanned the place like hawks. "Obi Chinedu," one of them barked. My heart jumped. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. "Nami," I said, forcing a smile. "Any problem, officer?" They asked me to follow them. My friends froze. Everyone watched as they led me to their van. At the station, they showed me pictures, screenshots of fake transactions, stolen ATM alerts, and chats from one of my friends' phones. It was like my heart stopped. My name was on one of the screenshots. "Chinedu, you better talk. We know you boys are into this Yahoo thing." I tried to explain, to deny, but the evidence was clear. One of the guys I trusted had used my account for a deal, and now I was part of it. They locked me up that night. The smell of the cell, sweat, fear, and regret filled my nose. I sat in the corner, shaking, thinking about my mother's face if she heard. For the first time in years, I cried. Not just tears of fear, but tears of shame. How did I, Chinedu, the poor boy with dreams, become this? The next morning, Mama came to the station. Her wrapper was tied loosely around her chest. She looked tired and broken. She didn't say a word at first, just held the bars and stared at me. Finally, she whispered, "I warned you, my son." That was the hardest thing I ever heard. A few days later, after some pleading and paying money we didn't have, I was released. But everything had changed. My friends stopped calling. My reputation was gone. The world that once praised me now avoided me. That was the beginning of my fall, and I didn't know how to stand again.
After my release, life became painfully quiet. The same street where people once healed me now felt like a battlefield of shame. Neighbors whispered when I passed. Old friends crossed the road to avoid me. Mama no longer smiled the way she used to. Papa barely spoke. The house felt heavy with disappointment. I tried to find honest work, I really did. I went to small shops, mechanic yards, even construction sites. But every time they asked for my name and looked at me twice, I knew what they were thinking. That's the boy who was arrested. One evening, I sat alone behind our house, staring at the fading sky. I felt completely lost. The sound of children laughing in the distance made me think of my younger self, the boy who once dreamed of becoming a footballer, the boy who played barefoot in the streets of Enugu. Where had that boy gone? There were days I didn't want to get out of bed. Days I questioned if life was still worth it. But every time I saw Mama kneeling to pray at night, whispering my name to God, something inside me refused to die. One night, she came into my room. "Chinedu," she said softly, "you can still make something out of your life. Mistakes don't define you. What you do after them does." Her words hit me deep. For the first time, I looked at her not as a worried mother, but as a fighter who never gave up on her child. That night, I made a silent promise. I would rise again. Not for money, not for fame, but for redemption.
Starting over was not easy. When your name has been stained, even your shadow looks guilty. But I knew I had to move, to do something different with my life. I began helping Papa in his small carpentry workshop. The smell of sawdust, the sound of hammering, and the rough feel of wood against my palms slowly grounded me. At first, I hated it. It felt like punishment. But over time, I started to find peace in it. Each nail I drove in felt like I was rebuilding myself piece by piece. Papa didn't talk much, but sometimes he'd glance at my work and nod quietly, and that small gesture meant the world to me. Mama continued selling at the market, and every day before she left, she'd say, "Chinedu, remember, no condition is permanent." Those words became my daily motivation. One day, a man visited our workshop. He needed furniture for his new office. While Papa was out, I took the job and designed the table myself. I worked all night, sanding, measuring, and shaping the wood until it looked perfect. When the man returned and saw it, his eyes widened. "You did this?" he asked. "Yes, sir," I said, nervous. He smiled. "You have talent, young man. Keep it up." That small compliment lit a fire in me. For the first time in years, I felt proud, not because of money or fame, but because I earned something the right way. From that day, I decided to master carpentry. I saved little by little, practiced new designs, and watched online tutorials whenever I could afford data. It wasn't easy. There were days I wanted to quit. But every time I saw that table I made, I remembered how far I had come. I wasn't the same Chinedu anymore. I was becoming someone new. Someone my
Years
mother could
passed,
smile for
and
again.
life slowly began to smile again. I was no longer the restless boy chasing quick money.
I was now a young man with calloused hands and steady dreams. At 25, I opened a small carpentry shop with the savings I had gathered from working with Papa. It wasn't much, just a wooden shed, a few tools, and a handmade sign that read CHINEDU'S. But to me, it was more than a shop. It was a symbol of rebirth. Customers started coming little by little. They loved my work because I poured my heart into every design. Each piece I created carried a story of failure, pain, and redemption. One afternoon, a customer walked in to order furniture for a new youth center. As we talked, he asked me about my past. I hesitated for a moment, then told him everything, from the poverty to the arrest, to how I rebuilt my life through carpentry. When I finished, he smiled and said, "You should share this story with others. Many young people need to hear it." That night, I couldn't sleep. His words kept echoing in my mind. Maybe my story wasn't just mine. Maybe it was a message for others who had fallen, those who thought it was too late to rise again. So I started visiting youth programs in my community. I shared my journey, the mistakes, the lessons, and the power of second chances. At first, my voice trembled, but each time I spoke, I felt lighter. And the best part, Mama sat in the front row the first time I spoke publicly. When I finished, she was crying, not out of sadness, but pride. She came up to me, hugged me tight, and whispered, "My son, you are a testimony." That day, I realized that success isn't about how high you climb, but how strong you rise after the fall. My name is Chinedu, and this is my story. A story of pain, temptation, and redemption. A story that proves no matter how broken you are, you can always rebuild your life one nail, one dream, and